Good afternoon, Brendan from Start Pointers Trials. Welcome to Tuesday, the week that was. Well, I've got a couple of little updates, nothing too major to this week, but I'll take you through some of my buildings like normal and give you a little bit of the technical information about what I'm doing and how I'm doing it. So let's start off with NEAF, because obviously it's the pathway to NEAF now. It's only, 8 weeks or so before we fly out. We've got all of our plane flights booked. We've got our booth booked for the NEAF expo. We're getting some bits and pieces sorted out and ready. We're a lot further ahead this year than we were last year. To be honest with you, last year it was literally the day prior to starting, so that would have been the Friday that we finally finished the website as we were going into NEAF. So we were flat chatters there, but this time it's going to be a lot more relaxed, calm. You'll see a lot different side of us whilst we're there. So NEAF is all guns blazing in preparation. What else we got? We'll do the technical side. So the weekend in the workshop. This little piece of kit. So we recently, so this weekend, I guess you will have seen the 135 Samyang Rokinon lens setup that we've been working on. So we've finally got that out and about into testing. I did all of the, so Friday, Saturday, I did all of the power reticulation and a bit of cable management. Still nothing like I'd really like it to be. It needs to be a lot neater, but hey, it's in working. And was it Sunday night, we had one of the first full nights, or Saturday night, we had one of the first full nights of it running unattended. So, and it worked all the way through to the morning, which was fantastic. But one of the things that caught me out, but it's annoying me at the moment, is the balance. So it's not symmetric in its loading. So we've got a lot of weight on one side. A lot of weight being that there's the guide motor, because I don't have a belt that's the right length. I've got the PC that's sitting out because that's holding the guide motor. And then everything else is all on that side. So I'm using a 268M, so QHY 268M, but the filter wheel itself hangs out to one side. So, and that's on the weighted side, not the unweighted side. It's just because I couldn't get it past the actual guide scope. So there's some little shuffles that I need to make, but because of that, I can't balance it properly because it still wants to flip one way, not the other. So it's causing a little bit of issues on guiding. Not too much. I mean, I'm still sitting at about between 0.5 and 0.6 RMS, but without that, because I can see the guide graph dipping, and that's it chasing the misbalance, I'd call it. So hopefully once I'm finished that, I should be able to get down sub 0.5 RMS on that rig. But most people have seen these little pieces around. They're for the EQ6s, where the axis and the counterweights all move as one. You can actually put a counterweight system onto that bar so that you can basically get rid of that inaccuracy with your balance. So this afternoon, well, I shouldn't say, over this weekend in the workshop, I actually grabbed a whole heap of rough offcuts and stocks and bits and pieces that I had laying around, and I made out this. And it just goes to show that in a workshop, you never chuck out material unless it's really, really bad. So what have we got? This little piece here is actually the guts that I cut out of the radius base plates. I've got a heap of those, so not going to chuck them away. These little pieces here are 40 mil diameter, so they're 35 mil now, but they're 40 mil diameter, and they come off of, you could say, these pieces. This is an old one. So these come off these pieces here, so I've cut it down to the right height and length that I need. So that's that. The little, it'll come out in a second. There it goes. So the little stainless steel piece here was just a little offcut of 12mm stainless steel. I made a little double-ended thread so it can thread onto the lock nut and then thread into here. So that's all nice and into that. This piece here was just a piece of rod. I think, must have been ages ago, but I tried to probably face it and it was absolutely chattery. It was horrible, but I've learnt a lot more now. So straightened it out, got it to the right diameter. This little piece here was just a random piece of, I'd say that's about 50 or 60mm stock. Had a big drill piece into it and a few other little bits and bobs. So I cleaned it all up. And then once again, these are the little 40mm pieces. So all done already. This is my little counterweight. Hopefully it's not too much. Otherwise I'll have to go build a smaller one. But I think I should be able to get away because you can get it in nice and tight. So EQ6 balancing system done. I also got, I'm getting pretty close to finishing the mechanical side of this. This here is just a 50mm extension, so it's not actually what's meant to be onto here. There'll be a very purpose-made extension that sits into this that allows me to screw in, because this has got a female connection and it should be a male connection. So now what you can see, and I know that I've chatted about this a couple of times, but now I come up nice and close. Now you can see that I've got those two checkouts there. Don't worry, that's not how the final one will be. I just didn't think about it until it was too far down the track that these would actually be coming through the thread. So I'll make a little bit of a shuffle, or I might even bring this up and in so that it doesn't impede on the actual the thread. But for now, the thread's just fine. It'll work quite well. But you can see all through here, it's really beefed up. And that's what I was telling you about, because when, I'll put this back on now, but when everything's being held, get it just right. Sometimes I love threads, sometimes I hate them. They'll drop in. So now, because that's where you're holding everything, right there at that thread interface, the rest of it comes off of the actual focuser itself, but everything else hangs off of here. And that interface right there between the front and the guiding ring, so there's obviously, if you have a look down there, so there's 4 screws that sit that side, and then there's 2 that sit right up and in here. So those 2 that sit up at the top, they come right the way through to this back plate, and they hold everything solidly together, and it just strengthens this little thin front plate. And why I do that is because that way then I can keep this as thin as possible. And if I really wanted to, I could get this to 14mm in thickness, which starts opening up a whole heap of possibilities for your imaging and what you're doing. So not too far done. I did also do some work on the firmware this week, and because I changed the main processor unit, or the MCU, inside of the firmware, or inside of the control board, to a new one, it's got a few nuances that I'm working through. My old Bluetooth LE didn't quite work with it, so I'm just rerouting that. Within the next week or so, that should be finished and into testing. I've got my beta testers, Chris, Carlos, and Steve at the moment that are running. Obviously myself and Dan as well. We've got a couple, I think between us there's 3 different setups. So we're working with about six of them at the moment. They're all doing pretty damn good. I haven't had any real issues at all, other than just your standard Windows 11 shenanigans. But these are the things that we would love to see. Dan has also gotten to the point where the APK was sent out for the Android app, And I think this is a big one for us, is that if we can get that Android app working, then this opens up the possibility for all the planetary people, or the visual people that want electronic focus, but without anything else in there. So, and I'll chat with Dan, because if we can also turn the volume speaker for in and out into so you don't have to turn the actual screen on, and you can put it into your pocket and move it as well. That might even be something pretty cool. So not too far, almost done with that. The other part about this is obviously the off-axis guider. It's pretty sturdy as well, so we don't have too much issues with flexure, considering that this is probably holding about 30 or 40 grams and not the whole piece. It was interesting to hear, I was chatting with Dan was having a look at it, and he said to me, that is so much lighter than I expected it to be. So even though it's chunky, the weight's in the right places, the strength is in the right places. So it's not over-engineered just for the sake of being chunky. And of course, you could double the weight of this and it would be stronger, but it's also double the weight. So yeah, it's just a thought pattern. Once again, my engineering ways that I love to make sure that things are exactly what they need. A little bit over, because you never want to be right on the line, but pretty much ready to go. So that's those two now done, pretty much. I don't think there's too much other, but I will say is that with all of the testing that I'm up to, we do have our Discord channel. Now, if you've used Discord before, you'll know what it's all about, but it's basically a live streaming, and it was invented for gaming, I believe, and it was all about showing people your game as you're playing it. It doesn't allow them to control or do anything like that, but it allows you to watch and see what's happening. So I have both of my rigs, my Samyang 135 with all the palaver going on with that, and I've got my 12-inch Newt. And for my American friends, we're shooting Vela Supernova Remnant. From the 12-inch, it's just a tiny little, basically a star and a little bit of nebulosity around it. But with the 135, you can see the whole thing and surrounding. It's pretty massive. I think we're 12 by 8 degrees or 13 by 9 degrees. It's a big field of view. Then by midnight, we flip over to the Statue of Liberty, Ida Carina region. So at the moment, the 135 is focusing on Ida Carina, first panel. The second panel will take into account the Statue of Liberty, Running Chicken Nebula, and a whole heap of others in there. And I've done, with the big 12, I've done a lot of SHO images of that area, but in piecewise. And I just wanted this more wider field to link it all together so that you can see what it is. And my dream or my outlook for that is the big wide field in the middle, and then dotted around the outside is going to be all the up close and personal viewpoints of key features of that nebula complex. So if you want to, Discord, we'll get a link. We'll either put it in the comments, or we'll put a link somewhere up here on the screen so that you can follow in, and it'd be really great to see you guys there. Well, that'll be it for the update this week. Hopefully wherever you are, you can do a little bit of astrophotography, whatever flavor, whether it be visual or whether it be with the astrophotography side of it. But until next week, have a good one, stay safe.